In just a few years, OpenAI went from a no-name company with $0 to a company with an over $100 billion valuation. While a large part of this was due to the craziness of ChatGPT, a good product can't reach those levels of success without some level of business strategy behind it. And no one believed in LLMs back then anyway. So how did OpenAI first manage to get people to believe in it, then create ChatGPT, and then handle a user base that was more than the population of France showing up all at once on the first day? How does OpenAI even exist? In 2022, barely anyone actually believed in large language models, or LLMs. Despite impressive demonstrations, most considered them little more than a party trick. Previous AI hype cycles, like the expert systems boom of the 1980s, had promised human-like intelligence but failed to deliver, and the LLMs of 2022 still struggled with simple logical tasks that children could solve, frequently contradicted themselves in more extended conversations, and generated plausible-sounding but entirely fictional information. Previous well-funded AI startups like Vicarious had crashed and burned trying to do something similar, wasting $250 million of funding. People that did believe in it had another mental hurdle to cross in the scale of ChatGPT's training data. Training something like ChatGPT required 28,000 high-end GPUs running for months, consuming 1,287 megawatts of power, enough to power 43,000 US homes monthly. This computing power exceeded that of the world's fastest supercomputer in 2022 by a factor of 10. And where would you get all the money from? Each training run cost between $50 and $100 million, with daily operational costs post-launch reaching $700,000, way beyond what any big tech company was willing to fund. And with less than 10,000 individuals globally who actually had the necessary expertise to make it work, manpower would also cost around $100 million annually, which didn't help the financial side of things. Even the tech companies that did have the money and invested billions into it had already given up, Google and Facebook saying that LLMs weren't practical anyway. Even the people working in OpenAI were skeptical. Internal debates raged over whether the premise of using a scaling language model to get sufficiently smart AI was even correct. All of this created such a huge amount of doubt that the famous venture capitalist Peter Thiel said, "AI has been just around the corner for 60 years. It's the fusion power of computer science." To pretty much everyone, this was a waste of time, a waste of money, and a waste of human intelligence. Anyone who thought otherwise was just stupid. But what if it wasn't? To give investors confidence, OpenAI decided to do something unprecedented. Instead of keeping their research secret, they decided to release pretty much all of it to the public and let the investors decide if they wanted in or not. This transparency was huge. While companies like DeepMind and Google AI published only 15 to 20% of their research, OpenAI released 98% of their findings between 2015 and 2019. And it worked. By 2019, OpenAI had attracted 127 of the world's top 1,000 AI researchers, competing successfully against tech giants offering 2 to 3 times higher salaries. And the research was showing the product was evolving. GPT-1 launched in 2018 with 117 million parameters, requiring 8 GPU months of training. It scored 45% on standard language benchmarks, barely matching existing models. GPT-2, released in 2019, scaled to 1.5 billion parameters, needing 168 GPU months, and achieved 62% accuracy, a meaningful but not revolutionary improvement. Then, GPT-3 in 2020, 175 billion parameters, 3,640 GPU months of training, achieving 87% accuracy on linguistic tasks. It was a major breakthrough that consumed more computing power than all AI research from 1956 to 2015 combined. Along with this, OpenAI's funding model was equally genius. The fact that they decided to label structure themselves attracted $1 billion from tech leaders, including $100 million from Sam Altman and $100 million each from 100 different Silicon Valley engineers. The 2019 transition to a capped profit model limited investor returns to 100 times, unprecedented when standard VC models target unlimited returns. Despite this cap, they attracted $2 billion in commitments within 6 months. Then the breakthrough, a big tech company's validation. In 2019, Microsoft invested a $1 billion deal into the company that included access to Azure's computing infrastructure, valued at $15 billion over 10 years. This provided OpenAI with 285,000 CPU cores and 10,000 GPUs, instantly equivalent to instantly receiving a $4.8 billion supercomputer for free. On top of that, instead of doing what Google was doing, trying to scale up the model with more and more parameters, OpenAI realized that it could improve accuracy by using a smaller amount of human feedback, around 50,000 hours, to increase accuracy from 67% to 89% without getting to trillions of parameters that Google DeepMind was having to wrestle with. All of this meant, by 2022 launch time, OpenAI had become the poster child of what could be. Their research was cited 31,000 times, compared to DeepMind's 18,000. They had developed 28 major AI models versus Google's 12, and their instruction-tuned models outperform competitors using just 1/3 of the computing power. The stage was set for ChatGPT, but even OpenAI's leadership couldn't predict what would happen next. Speaking of, thanks so much for all the support on the channel lately. It really means a lot, and I want to give something back to you guys. So do you need a job? That sounded a bit weird. But whether you're a UX designer, app developer, freelancer, or just a curious viewer, I want to get to know you guys, share some UX and UI tips, and maybe even get a gig. So I made a Discord channel for us and want to make this the place to be for front-end professionals. And I'm having talks with people to get some employers in there so you can connect with them too and find some jobs in the future. I'm really excited to get this thing started, so I hope you'll join me. In November 2022, OpenAI had a huge problem. Internal test results showed that ChatGPT's accuracy was only 80%, with a huge 15% rate of factual hallucinations and 5% of interactions showing biases. These figures fell short of the 95% accuracy expected for tech launches, with Google's search engine debut setting the precision benchmark at 98%. Despite this, OpenAI boldly decided to proceed with the launch. The November 30 launch was remarkably not all that. While significant tech product launches often involve a $50 to $100 million marketing debut, OpenAI spent nothing. $0. Their sole announcement came via a tweet from Sam Altman at 12:46 p.m. PST. It didn't matter though. Within hours of the tweet, the API servers were handling 50,000 requests per second within hours, surpassing Twitter's peak traffic during the 2022 World Cup final. ChatGPT's growth trajectory was unprecedented in the tech world. It reached 1 million users in just 5 days, a feat that took Instagram 2.5 months, the iPhone 74 days, and Netflix 3.5 years to achieve for streaming users. By its 60th day, ChatGPT boasted 100 million monthly active users, a milestone that Facebook took 4.5 years to reach. Fireworks, everyone! Except for the fact that it cost $700,000 daily to run the thing, which, even with the amount of $2 million monthly revenue coming in from subscriptions, was nowhere near the $49 million of expenses the company incurred. Microsoft, however, didn't care. In January 2023, they invested another $10 billion into OpenAI, which ballooned the company's valuation 365% to $29 billion. This single investment was more than every investment in Europe's top 50 AI companies combined in 2022. What OpenAI revealed was that even though people were not 100% about AI's reliability, they didn't care. 71% of users returned within 24 hours, and almost everyone, 89% of users, attempted to use ChatGPT for real-world tasks, with average session lengths almost 2.5 times the length of TikTok at 24 minutes. The shock was said perfectly by someone, an OpenAI engineer. We expected 10,000 beta testers. We got the population of France. The launch didn't merely break records, it almost broke the company as well. In late 2022, OpenAI faced a challenge that few tech companies had ever encountered: how to handle success. While companies like Facebook and TikTok had years to figure out how to optimize their programs to handle huge loads, OpenAI had to scale overnight. Their solution was three-pronged. First, they built a system that could instantly route users to the nearest of their 13 data centers, cutting response times in half. For comparison, with 15 years of streaming experience, Netflix operates 41 data centers. OpenAI built its network in months. Secondly, they developed what they called dynamic batching. Instead of handling each user request individually, they grouped similar questions, like an innovative elevator that optimizes stops during rush hour. This cut their computing costs by 40%, from about $1.2 million to $700,000 daily. Third, they created an advanced caching system. When multiple users asked similar questions, the system reused previous answers rather than generating new ones. It's like having an FAQ that writes itself. This saved another $428,000 daily, more than most tech unicorns earn in revenue. But scaling wasn't just about technology. OpenAI had to balance growth with safety. While Facebook's early motto was move fast and break things, OpenAI's approach was more like move fast and triple check everything. They implemented 142 safety checks on every response, more than what the FDA requires for new drug approvals. This cautious approach meant saying no to potentially profitable features. When banks offered millions for customized versions of ChatGPT, OpenAI declined until they could ensure safe deployment. For context, most AI companies typically jump at enterprise contracts. They make up to 95% of industry revenue. If you liked this video, please check out our other video on how Apple's just-in-time manufacturing strategy cut supply chain costs by 30%. Until next time, ciao.